Smoke still rose from the broken land. Burned metal twisted in the wind. Crushed ships and bodies of both humans and aliens lay scattered across the battlefield. The war had moved on, but this place had not. A human soldier named Reed walked slowly between the wrecks, his boots crunching over ash and glass. His rifle was ready, his eyes sharp. This wasn't cleanup. This was recovery. Maybe rescue. Or maybe finding one more trap waiting. He stepped over a ruined drone, its wires still sparking, and paused. There was a sound, faint, weak, like breath trying to fight silence. He crouched low, scanning the rubble. Nothing. He stepped closer. The sound came again, a whimper, sharp and broken, like someone too tired to cry. Reed pulled a cracked plate of metal aside. Underneath it, beneath torn armor and debris, was a girl, not human. She had gray-blue skin, slick with blood and dirt. Her leg was pinned beneath a collapsed wing. Her face was bruised, lips dry. Her chest barely moved. She opened her eyes and froze. When she saw the soldier above her, she didn't beg. She didn't speak. She only shook her head once, slow and weak. "Hey," Reed said, kneeling down, voice calm. "You're alive?" "That's good. Don't move." The alien girl tried to lift her hand, but her fingers trembled and fell. Her voice finally came, low and rough. "No use. Leave me here." He ignored her words. With strong arms, Reed began to lift the heavy wing from her body. She gasped in pain, her back arching slightly, but she didn't scream. She had screamed enough already. "Stay still," he said, pulling her free. Her leg was twisted and bleeding. He checked her pulse. It was there, but weak. "I don't understand you," she whispered, trying to push him away. "You're human. Why help me?" Reed didn't answer. He took off his scarf, tied it around her leg to stop the bleeding, then gently lifted her in his arms. She was light, like she hadn't eaten in days. She coughed, then her head fell against his chest. Her eyes closed again. He carried her back to his transport, silent and fast. The sky above was turning red, not from sunset, but from the smoke of a distant fire still burning. Inside the transport, he laid her on a supply bed. Medical systems activated automatically. Scanners blinked. One light turned green, then yellow. She was stable, but just barely. Red looked down at her face. She was young, maybe not much older than 20 in human years. Her cheeks had a few glowing marks. Tribal symbols, probably. Her hair was tangled, black with streaks of silver. Her hand twitched. She was dreaming, maybe remembering how she was left behind. Then something strange happened. A soft glow appeared. At her neck, a pendant hidden beneath her collar slid out on its own, as if drawn by a force. It floated for a second, then scanned Reed with a faint light. He stepped back, unsure what it was doing, but didn't raise his weapon. The pendant beeped once, then dimmed. A soft voice from the medical system spoke, robotic but clear. "Bond. Recorded human identifier, Sergeant Reed Marlowe. Alien subject, Category C, registered survivor. Status, claimed." Reed stared. "Claimed," he repeated under his breath. The girl didn't move. She only breathed outside. The world remained broken. Inside, something had begun. A connection, unknown and ancient, had just taken place, and Reed didn't even know her name. The hum of machines echoed softly through the medical bay. Lights blinked green, blue, then yellow again. Sterile cold air filled the small room. But her breathing was warm now, slow, steady. She woke with a jerk. Pain rushed in like fire. Her leg refused to move. Her arms felt too heavy. Her vision blurred, but she saw a ceiling she didn't know metal, human-made. Panic followed. She grabbed the edge of the bed, dragging herself up, but her body failed her. She crashed back down, gasping. Then the door slid open. It was him. The human. He stood there, tall, quiet, holding a tray. Steam rose from a bowl on it. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept, but his eyes were calm. Watchful. "You're awake?" he said, walking in slowly. "That's good. You've been out for 2 days." She stared at him, unsure if she should fight or beg. Her voice came low, raw. "Why? Didn't you leave me?" He didn't answer at first. He set the tray down beside her, sat in the chair by the wall. There was silence, long and thick. Then he spoke, because someone should have helped. You, even if your people didn't. Her heart twisted at those words. She remembered it clearly the moment they turned their backs. Her squad, her captain, her own sister. They'd looked at her broken leg, the blood, the burning wreckage, and walked away. Hey, you'll slow us down, they had said. She had crawled behind the drone wing to hide from fire. Then she waited. For death, but death didn't come. This human did. She looked at the bowl beside her soup. Real food. It smelled strange but warm. I'm not hungry, she said, voice hard. I know, he replied, but eat anyway. She turned her head away. He leaned forward. You're safe here. I'm not going to hurt you. Safe, she repeated. Laughing bitterly, you think I'm safe with your kind? He didn't argue, just stood up and walked to the door. Before leaving, he looked back. I gave you a name, he said. Laya. Ah. She blinked. What? You didn't have a tag? No records. The system needed one. So I gave you a name. Why that name? It was my sister's. She died last year. And with that, he stepped out. She stared at the door long after it closed. Her chest felt tight, not from pain, from something else. She hated how gentle his voice was, how he hadn't demanded thanks, how he hadn't looked at her like trash. She reached for the spoon, trembling. The soup was strange, yes, but it was hot. It made her throat feel alive again. She didn't know why she cried. Later that night, she woke up to soft sounds. Machines still worked quietly. But now there was another noise, someone talking. She turned her head and saw a screen blinking. Softly, a message, lines of code. Translation system had finished scanning her pendant. The result made her freeze. Subject, registered survivor claimed by Sergeant Reed. Marlowe status, protected under Human War Ordinance 12C rights, transferred medical. Shelter, safety binding code. Active, she read the lines again, and again, claimed in her world, that word was a curse. A collar, a loss of freedom. Only the discarded were claimed. Those who failed, those who were weak. She looked at her reflection in the screen's glass. Blood still marked her cheeks. Her silver-streaked hair hung down messily. Her eyes looked hollow. She didn't want pity. She didn't want to belong to anyone. The door opened again, soft this time. Reed stood there with a blanket. His voice low. You were shaking in your sleep. I don't need your help, she said, glaring. I know, he replied, walking closer, but I'm offering it anyway. He placed the blanket gently over her shoulders. She didn't stop him. She didn't thank him either. As he turned to leave, she spoke. I don't want your name. He stopped. But I'll keep it, she added, staring at the floor. A small smile touched his face just for a second. Then rest, Leah, he said. You're safe now. He left again, this time without sound. She sat alone in that quiet room, her fingers clutching the edge of the blanket. Her heart beat slow and uncertain. The fire from her pain still burned, but something softer began to rise beneath it. Trust, even if only a little. The metal room felt colder than before. Laya sat upright now, her back propped by folded blankets. Her body still ached, but her mind moved fast. The pain no longer dulled her thoughts. It sharpened them, and one question refused to leave her. He had claimed her, not as an enemy, not as a prisoner, but as a protector. The system marked it legal, binding, real. She didn't understand it, and that made it worse. When Reed returned later with a canister of clean water, she didn't thank him. She didn't take it. She only asked, voice quiet but burning, why? Did you claim me? He stood still for a second. Then he set the canister on the edge of the table, looked her in the eyes and said, so no one else could. She blinked. What does that mean? She asked, her voice shaking. You think I'm yours now? Like a rescued animal? No, he said, his tone steady. I think you were dying, and I made a choice, one that kept you alive. She gritted her teeth. In my world, claiming means chains. It means I lost everything. Reed stepped back, folding his arms. In my world, it means you get protection. You get rights, food, healing, a bed. And if you want to leave when you're strong enough, you can. She stared at him, searching for a lie, but his face didn't shift. No smirk, no threat, just patience, too much patience. I don't believe you, she said, pulling the blanket tighter around herself. You don't have to, he replied. Walking toward the door, she threw the blanket off. I'm not weak anymore, she growled, pulling herself to her feet. Her leg trembled. The muscles gave way. She collapsed forward. But he caught her before she hit the ground. For a second, neither of them moved, her face pressed against his armor. Her hand clenched his jacket. His arms were around her, firm but gentle. I don't want this, she whispered, shaking in his hold. I know, he said, but you're allowed. To want more than survival now? He carried her back to the bed, placed her down gently. She didn't fight him. She COULDN single quotes. Tears stung her eyes. Not from pain, from the weight she carried, from the shame of needing help, from the memory of being abandoned like trash. He handed her the water again. This time, she took it. Later that night, she watched him from the doorway. Reed stood outside, leaning against a post, scanning the dark sky. The stars blinked above the broken base. His rifle hung at his side, not ready to kill, but always close. She stepped closer, her bare feet cold against the floor. You lost someone, she said softly. He didn't look at her, just nodded once. My sister, last deployment. Was she like me? No, he replied, then turned to face her. But she was brave. She helped people who hated her, saved them anyway. Leah lowered her eyes. I wasn't brave, she said, voice low. I begged my captain not to leave me. I cried, I screamed, and still they walked away. Reed was silent for a long moment. Then he said, that wasn't weakness. She looked up. That was hope. He walked past her, back into the shelter. Left her standing in the dark, wrapped. In confusion, she returned to the med bay. Her thoughts spinning, she stood in front of the mirror again. Not the screen, but an old polished panel on the wall. Her face looked different now, less bruised, less broken. But her eyes, they held something new, not fear, not hate, something between them, a memory, a question. Then something happened. Her pendant glowed again. The soft blue light pulsed with heat and spread across her chest. She gasped and stepped back, but it didn't burn. Instead, it warmed her skin. Lines of silver crept from the pendant across her neck. Her collarbone, down her arm, symbols, ancient, forgotten. She stared at them. Trembling, her kind believed those marks only appeared during a rare bonding, one triggered by deep, emotional impact. It was not love, it was not control, it was survival. Mixed with trust, she covered her glowing skin with her hand. Her body was responding to him, to his kindness, to his choice to stay when no one else did. He didn't even know. She lay back down, heart racing, and whispered to herself, What? Are you human? The rumble of engines shook the shelter walls. Leah sat up quickly, her breath catching. Outside, shadows moved, boots stomping through dust, armor clinking. Weapons slung across backs. More humans had arrived. She reached for the edge of the bed, ready to stand, ready to fight if needed. Reed was already outside, walking toward them, 3 soldiers in gray, marked with high command badges. One of them, taller than the rest, wore a cold expression and an even colder voice. Reed. The officer said without smiling, We got your report. It mentioned a claimed alien female. Reed nodded once. She's stable now, recovering. Did you bring her back? Another soldier snapped. You know what the rules say? Any non-registered species found post-conflict is considered high threat. She was dying, Reed replied, and unarmed. She's still not human, the officer said flatly, and if the wrong eyes see her here, it's your rank on. The line? Leah stepped out of the shelter. Every head turned. She stood barefoot in the dust, her arms thin, her body still healing, but her eyes sharp. Her skin shimmered faintly with the silver marks from the night before, now hidden under a loose scarf. If you want me gone, she said quietly, Just say it to my face. The soldiers flinched, not from her tone, but from the fact she spoke their language. You taught her Terran, one of them growled. I didn't, Reed said. Stepping between them, she picked it up fast. She's not a pet, Reed. She's a liability. She's not leaving, Reed said, voice firm. Not unless she walks out by choice. The officer's face hardened. That's not your decision. Reed turned fully, now facing the superior. She's registered under Protocol 12C that gives her right to recovery, shelter, and protection under my name. I filed it. It's approved. There was a long silence. Then the officer stepped forward, slowly, almost nose to nose with Reed. Keep her out of sight. If command asks questions, she never existed. Reed didn't answer. He just stared back. The soldiers left in silence. Laya stood beside him, heart pounding. You fought. Them, she said softly. For me. He didn't look at her. They would have taken you, he replied, and maybe worse. I wasn't going to let that happen. She touched his sleeve. Just briefly. I'm not worth risking your rank, she said. You didn't see what I saw in that wreckage, Reed whispered. You were still breathing. That was enough. She didn't have words for that. Later, inside the shelter, she sat on the edge of her bed. Your laws, she said slowly. They protect me because you claimed me, but only because of that. Yes, he said, adjusting his rifle near the edge. Door, without it, they'd have taken you, probably interrogated. Maybe worse. She stood. So I'm safe, but only because of you. Reed looked over his shoulder. Do you want to be free of that? She didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the table. Picked up the old military scarf he had given her days ago. She wrapped it around her waist, tying it into her own armor. I don't want to be claimed, she said quietly. But I don't. Want to be forgotten again either? Reed nodded once. Then earn your space here. You help me with repairs? Navigation? I'll teach you what I know. And in return, she asked, you'll keep the others away? I'll do more than that, he said. I'll stand in front of you if I have to. She turned away quickly, hiding her face. By nightfall, the stars were back, shining. Down through the cracked dome above their shelter, Laya stood outside, touching the edge of a satellite dish they had repaired together. Her fingers moved with ease, her mind learning faster than ever before. Behind her, Reed approached with two steaming cups. Try this, he said. She took one, sniffed it. It smells terrible. It is, he grinned, but it keeps you warm. She sipped, her eyes widened. It's awful, but you'll drink it again. She smiled, sparely then. Something changed. A light blinked red on the outer wall. A warning signal. They both looked toward the sensor screen. Unidentified life forms, fast-moving, closing in. Not human, not friendly. They found me. Ah, Laya whispered, her own kind. The red light on the screen pulsed faster now. They were close. Reed stood by the window, rifle in hand, his jaw set like stone. Leah stood behind him, frozen, her hands cold even as the room warmed with tension. She knew that signal, speed, the pattern. It was her kind, her old unit. Maybe her captain, maybe her sister, the ones who left her in the dirt with a broken leg and smoke in her lungs. They tracked your pendant, Reed said without turning around. She nodded, eyes fixed on the blinking red dot. I forgot it was still active, she whispered. Don't blame yourself. She stepped forward, her voice sharp now. They didn't come to save me, Reed. They came to erase me. He looked at her then. You're not alone this time. His voice was steady, but his hand tightened on the grip of the rifle. They'll come to the door, she said. They'll say they want peace. That I was missing. They lie. Reed handed her a blanket from the supplies. Clean, heavy, warm. Wrap up, he said. She looked down at it, confused. You think I'm cold? She asked. I'm not shivering from weather. He moved closer, placed the blanket around her shoulders himself. I'm not giving it for warmth, he said. I'm giving it because you're not going outside as a target, not dressed for war. not looking like something they still own. She stared up at him. You treat me like I matter, she whispered. You do? She clutched the fabric tight. They never once gave me anything I didn't have to fight for, she said. Then this is your first read, replied, stepping back toward the door. A gift, not a debt. Outside, engines hummed low and quiet. Not war machines, not tanks, scout transport. Sleek, painted in the colors. Of her command, she remembered those colors. They matched the ones painted on her armor. The day they walked away from her, they waited. The knock came. Polite, soft, rehearsed. Reed stood firm, Laya at his side, wrapped in the blanket that covered her old uniform. A voice called through the door, smooth and clear. This is Captain Drellin of the Orion Crest. We've come for our missing soldier. She's been gone too long. Reed didn't answer. Another knock. We have orders, the voice continued. This won't take long. Let her come out. Let her speak. Leah walked to the door herself. She touched the panel and let it open. A tall figure stood there, red eyes, sharp chin, long silver hair braided with gold. Her old captain. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Leah, he said smoothly. You've changed, so have you, she replied coldly. He glanced at her blanket. Then it read, standing behind her. You found comfort here, the captain said. Interesting. But it's time to come back. Your trial is over. Trial, she said sharply. You left me to die. The captain's smile didn't move. You were slowing the unit. We made a tactical choice. I was screaming your name, she said. He nodded calmly. You're alive, aren't you? That means our decision wasn't fatal. Reed stepped forward, his eyes dark. She's not going with you, he said. She belongs with us. The captain replied. No, Laya interrupted, her voice firm now. I don't. The captain tilted his head. She's bonded to me under human law, Reed said. You take her. You violate our treaty. The captain laughed, soft and cruel. She's not a human soldier. Your laws are paper to us. Leah stepped out, now standing between both men. I wasn't asking for your permission, she told her captain. I made my choice. He raised a brow. You'd choose a dying species over your bloodline. I'd choose someone who wrapped me in a blanket, she said, not chains. Her hand reached up, tugging free the pendant around her neck. It glowed once, then cracked down the center. The symbol of claim gone. Her voice was calm. Now, I choose on my own. Her skin lit again, not weak now, but bright. Silver markings dancing with power. The captain's face turned pale. You activated the deep code, he said, stepping back. By choice, Laya said, not by blood. Reed placed his hand on her shoulder. The soldiers behind the captain hesitated. This is treason, the captain spat. No, Laya said, stepping back into the shelter with Reed. This is freedom. The door shut between them. She exhaled. For the first time, it didn't shake. The silence after the door closed was louder than the knock that came before it. Laya stood still, the broken pendant in her palm glowing faintly before going dark. Its pieces had fallen across the floor, sharp edges, soft light, ancient bond. Shattered. Reed stood beside her, his hand still resting on her shoulder, as if ready to catch her if she fell. But she didn't fall. Not this time. They won't walk away, he said calmly. I know, she replied, her voice steady. But neither will I outside. The scout unit regrouped. The captain's smile was gone now. He paced in tight circles, barking quiet orders. He knew what the glowing silver lines on Leah's body meant. Every soldier from her race did. She had activated the soul code, a forgotten protocol from her ancestors' bloodline. A vow stronger than commands, older than treaties, and irreversible. She had chosen to stand with a human. It was a mark of shame to some, betrayal to others. But to Laya, it felt like breathing for the first time. Inside the shelter, Reed checked his rifle and powered up the perimeter field. The generator groaned, low on fuel. We won't hold if they bring firepower, he said. They'll test your loyalty now, try to make you doubt. She walked to the workbench and pulled out one of the discarded plasma knives. "I've doubted everything since the war started," she said, switching it on, "but not you." Reed looked at her for a long second, then nodded. A sharp beep lit up the wall screen. Another signal, this one hostile. Incoming transport. Large. Heavy. Not for scouting, not for rescue, for erasure. "They're bringing a purge ship," Leah said under her breath. "They want this place burned." "Do you want to run?" Reed asked. She shook her head. "I ran my whole life. Not anymore." He handed her the spare armor chestplate. It wasn't built for her, but she adjusted it quickly, then strapped a plasma bolt pistol to her waist. She wasn't a soldier anymore. She was a survivor who had made a choice. The sky turned darker, not from night, but from the shadow of the landing craft. It descended slowly, the air thick with heat and dust. Trees bent, sand lifted in spirals, and a cold voice crackled through an external speaker. "Leia of the Crest, you are ordered to surrender yourself. No harm will come if you obey." Leia stepped outside the shelter, her feet planted firm. She pressed a button on the small transmitter. In her hand, her voice replied, steady and cold. "I'm not part of the Crest anymore," the speaker hissed. "Then you've declared yourself a traitor. I've declared myself free." Inside the shelter, Reed activated the old defense turrets. Only 2 came online. One sputtered with unstable energy. Still, he stood at the door, rifle raised, from the transport. 6 armored warriors stepped out, their weapons glowing blue with heat. Leah walked forward slowly, not to attack, but to stand. "Between them and Reed, step aside." Her sister's voice came from under a helmet. "We won't ask again." "I never asked you to come back," Leia said. Her sister removed her helmet. Her eyes were hard, mouth tight. "You shame our blood," she said. "For a human, a creature you were trained to outlive. He didn't leave me to die." Leah replied. "You're weak," her sister hissed, raising her weapon. Leah stepped forward, unblinking, then fire. Her sister hesitated. Behind them, the captain approached again, slower this time. He didn't raise a weapon. Instead, he extended a hand. "Come now, Leah," he said. "Softer than before, we'll make it painless." Leia didn't move. But the symbols on her body began to glow again, brighter, hotter. She clenched her fists. "Leave now," she said, "or I'll make you." The soldiers laughed. Then a shot rang out, but not from them. From the turret Reed activated behind the shelter wall. It struck the ground near the captain's feet, kicking up dust in warning. "This place is rigged." Reed's voice came. "Through the open shelter speaker, you want her. You'll have to come through me." The soldiers tensed. The captain snarled. "You're willing to die for her, human?" "I'm not dying today," Reed said, stepping out with his rifle raised. "But if I do, I'm not dying alone." The wind blew through the silent gap between both sides. Then Leah's sister lowered her weapon. The captain stepped back. They had seen enough, the glow on her skin, the fire in her eyes, the human who stood without flinching. They knew they had lost her. The purge ship powered down. The warriors returned to their craft without another word. And for the first time, they left her behind not as trash, but as someone who chose not to return. Inside, Reed collapsed into a chair, his hands trembling from adrenaline. Leia stepped in after him, her legs weak. "You didn't have to stand out there," she said. He looked up at her. "You didn't either," she smiled. "You gave me something no one else ever did," she said, lowering herself beside him, the right to choose. The night was too quiet. No wind, no machines, no birds. Only the slow hum of broken systems trying to stay alive. Reed lay on a cot inside the shelter, sweat on his brow. He was breathing but shallow. A plasma burn stretched across his ribs, deep and ugly. Leah knelt beside him, pressing a cloth soaked in coolant across the wound. Her hands moved fast, steady. Her face didn't show fear, only focus. "They tricked us," she muttered. "Said they were leaving." Then circled back in cloaked gear. Reed tried to speak, but she stopped him with a finger against his lips. "Don't talk," she said. "Save your strength. His hand found hers. Weak, but warm. "You already saved me," he whispered. She closed her eyes. That word again, save. This time it was her turn. Outside, the last of the enemy unit had returned. For elite hunters, her own kind, trained to erase defectors without a trace. No orders, no negotiations, no mercy. Leia stood by the generator, watching their movement on the scanner. They were fast, spreading out, surrounding the shelter. One mistake, and Reed wouldn't make it. She touched the broken pendant, still hanging by thread from her neck. It had no power left, but her choice still did. She moved quickly, grabbing her armor, sliding it on piece by piece. She left her old emblem off. Instead, she tied Reed's scarf around her arm. It smelled like smoke and dust. It's like the battlefield where he found her. She stepped into the darkness without a sound. They didn't expect her. She moved like a ghost, blending into the shadows, using the land she once feared. She circled behind the first hunter, slicing through the air with her plasma blade. One down. 3 left. Another fired blindly into the dark. But she leaped, flipped, landed with a crack against his chest plate. He fell gasping, stunned at 2 left. Began to retreat, but she didn't stop. Her feet pounded the ground, her heart like thunder in her chest. The third turned to face her too late. He dropped. Only 1 remained. The commander, her sister. They faced each other in the clearing, moonlight shining between them. "You think they'll accept you after this?" her sister said coldly. "They'll never see you as one of them." "I don't need to be one of them," Lie replied, stepping closer. "I only needed one of them, and he stayed when you didn't." Her sister raised her blade, so did Leia. The clash was fast, deadly, each move trained. Strike hard. But Leia fought differently now. Not for rank, not for glory. For someone who saw her as more than what she was built to be. Her blade knocked. Her sister's aside. Her hand closed around her collar and pulled her in. "You left me to rot," Leia said, voice low. "I followed command," her sister hissed. "You followed fear." She threw her down. Hard. Her sister didn't rise again. The field was silent again, not with death. With choice, Leia walked back into the shelter. Dirt on her armor, her scarf still tight on her arm. Reed's eyes opened when she entered. "You're here," he said weakly. "I told you I wasn't leaving," she said, kneeling beside him. "You glow," he whispered, smiling faintly. She looked down. Her skin shimmered again, not from pain, but power. The old symbols traced across her body like stars in motion. She touched his chest gently, placing the back of her hand where his heartbeat echoed. "I used to believe the bond made me weak," she said, "but it gave me strength." "Your strength," Reed coughed, then laughed a little. "You're making a soldier blush," she smiled, then reached into her belt pouch and pulled something out. A new pendant, one she made from the scraps of the old one. She pressed it against his chest. It pulsed. Once, then synced with his rhythm. "Now we protect each other," she said softly. He closed his eyes again. But this time, it's not from pain, from peace. Days passed, reinforcements arrived. Human ones. They found the shelter still standing. Turrets fried, walls burned. But inside, they found a strange scene. A human soldier recovering from a wound. And beside him, a girl with silver lines across her skin, guarding him like he was the last star in the sky. No chains, no orders, just choice, just her.